Yo, welcome to the No Pick Show where there's no hand holding. We do facts, not emotion. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification if you haven't already so you can know when we go live, when we post new videos. YouTube isn't the best for sending notifications out, so it's really important that you hit that bell notification below. So today I want to talk about Jordan Poole and Zion Williamson. Again, I spoke about this in the previous episode. I really think people are underestimating Jordan Poole specifically. And of course, Zion Williamson is always a question mark, but I think people have gotten a little too low on him as a player and a number one option on a very good team. Now, we're going to start with Jordan Poole here, man. Jordan Poole is coming off an incredible year. Really went unnoticed because he was with the Washington Wizards, who, of course, seems like they're always tanking. So Jordan Poole played 68 games last year. At 29 minutes, he averaged 20 points, 50% from the field, 37% from behind the arc, 88% at the free throw line is really important for the Pelicans. Also, 4 free throw attempts is really good for the Pelicans. Chipped in, 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Turnovers a little high at 3 turnovers, considering that he was sharing the ball handling duties with, I believe, Malcolm Brogdon. And year before that, he was sharing them with Tice. If you look at these numbers, Jordan Poole is actually near the top of the league for creating opportunities for his teammates. Now, his teammates didn't always take advantage. Washington didn't have a lot of scorers, but the looks he created was there. That's why I think people are really underselling his ability to kind of orchestrate a little bit and create for others. I think people kind of view Jordan Poole as a selfish chucker, which that's never necessarily been the case. Jordan Poole has never taken over 15 shots a game. And if you look at him in Washington the past 2 seasons where he was the guy, he still never took over 15 shots a game. I mean, 15.2, 15 and a half, but he's never gotten to 16, 17, 18. I think he's going to have the opportunity to do that in New Orleans because of the pace and because of, I believe, the freedom he'll be able to play with. Also, it's very important to consider that Jordan Poole is going to be due for a contract extension very soon. He has about 2 years left on his contract, this year being one of them. At 31.8 million, then next year it goes up to 34 million. That's a pretty significant jump. Goes up to 34 million, he'll be expiring. So it's going to be really important for the Pelicans to evaluate Jordan Poole this year and him to put forth his best effort so he can get that bread, via contract extension. Because in the open market, I really don't know how, attractive Jordan Poole would be in the open market, because you've seen what's happening in this open market. Guys just aren't signing for those major contracts anymore. Joe Dumars, he's a big fan of Jordan Poole. Some of that's probably the DMV connection with Troy Weaver. You got Aaron Miles in the building who's worked with Jordan Poole in the past. They brought in Kevon Looney as well. I'm sure there's a lot of people advocating for Jordan Poole. I throw the year that the Draymond incident happened out the window. Throw that year out the window, right? Prior to that, and this is why Jordan Poole got paid. Prior to that, Jordan Poole was shooting 92% from the free throw line on 3.5 attempts, averaged 18, 4, and 3 off the bench, if I'm not mistaken. Lighting it up from behind the arc on 7 attempts, 36%. On 7 attempts, 36% is good. Even last year, on 9 attempts, 37%. That's awesome on that number of attempts. You got to play the averages here. Jordan Poole, that year that the Golden State Warriors won the finals, he was a major contributing factor. He just wasn't some guy off the bench. He was a major contributing factor. I think people kind of respected a little bit too much given the turmoil surrounding his exit from Golden State. And then you go into the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards, no disrespect to them, but they're in the bottom tier of the league. Now, one could argue that the Pelicans are also in the bottom tier of the league, and you wouldn't be mistaken. But even recently, the Pelicans have had more success than the than the Washington Wizards. The Pelicans have had more success than the Washington Wizards. So I really think people are selling this guy short. I've heard and read some people say he should come off the bench. To me, I think that's extremely insulting for a number of reasons. One, why would he come off the bench considering this is going to be a contract year for him? This is the time where you kind of hey, what's up? What we trying to do? You don't want to go into, you don't want to have another Brandon Ingram situation or CJ McCollum situation where you're going into a guy's last year. You got to decide on if you're going to extend them or you got to trade them away for pennies on a dollar. You might even have to attach an asset. You don't want to have to do that. You want to evaluate them this year, and if it's not working, you move off of them. If it is working, you extend them to, hopefully a team-friendly extension, and you get the ball rolling, and you've locked in one of your backcourt guys for the future. Also, who can you realistically argue that should start over him? You're not going to say Jose Alvarado, no disrespect. You're not going to say Jeremiah Fears. Who should start over Jordan Poole? Let's say if you consider him a two, are you going to start Herb Jones over him when you really need shooting with the loss of CJ McCollum? Brandon Ingram's gone, so you got Trey Murphy, you got Zion, but someone has to shoot the ball. Someone has to take these shots. Someone has to get to the rim. You've compounded your loss of offense in the starting lineup with Brandon and CJ both being gone. So you've added Trey Murphy presumably to the starting lineup. You've added Jordan Poole presumably to the starting lineup. That's going to replace their shot attempts. That's gonna balance out the shot diet. Putting Jordan Poole on the bench leaves a major void in really dynamic guard play. If you ask me, you don't have many people to get to the rim. You don't really have anyone to shoot else on the court to shoot the ball. So I just don't really understand that. I think people saw that work in Golden State, and they think they could just kind of typecast him into that position here in New Orleans, but you don't have a Steph Curry or Klay Thompson that Jordan Poole is like sitting in favor of. Like you don't have that here. You have to start Jordan Poole. Like, come on, he's already the best guard on the roster. So the minute you traded for him, he became the best guard on the roster. So I think people are just going a little far with that. Now, when you talk about his pairing with Zion Williamson, another guy coming off a pretty good year, all things considered, coming off a pretty good year stat wise. You know what I'm saying? Reached some career highs. Of course, didn't play many games, but he's another guy who demands a double team. Very unselfish with the ball. He averages around 16 to 17 shots. So you're not dealing with a ball hog there. I think if you look at Jordan Poole's ability in transition, and you look at Zion Williamson's ability in transition and Trey Murphy's ability in transition, it's a match made in heaven. Both guys can rebound the ball, push it up the court, and finish or dish it off for a big play. I think the pairing is going to be seamless, right? Zion, another guy, it's about time you start talking about, an extension with him. He hasn't had the best PR, and he doesn't really have a strong argument for an extension. One might say he's becoming overpaid for his, not performance on the court, just he's never really on the court. So if Zion manages to stay on the court this season, I'm sure that'll, kind of soften the blow a little bit for some people if he is given an extension this year. But the Pelicans, I think they have about this year and two more. So if I'm the Pelicans, I probably want to see what he does this year and next year. But, some of the things we've seen with Zion, we saw him at the Summer League. He appears to be in good shape. There was some rumors circulating that he wasn't. I'm glad that those rumors have been proven wrong. I'm not sure when we're going to see the guys working as a unit in this offseason. Guys have commitments. Zion got the Jordan thing. Jordan Poole, he does his own thing. Trey Murphy's doing his own thing, trying to recover from injury. Herb Jones as well. So, it was nice to see everybody together at Summer League. Hopefully the guys, because in my opinion, training camp is too short. So hopefully the guys can spend some time together prior to Summer League and really build that camaraderie, build that chemistry if they haven't already. You know what I'm saying? Again, these are human beings, so they got lives, they got families, they got girlfriends, they got kids, they got things they got to do. So hopefully they're able to get a couple weeks in prior to Summer League and kind of work on that chemistry, particularly the three-man game between Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, and Zion Williamson. Because if you go back to even like, man, some of the shots that Jordan Poole he's willing to take just off the dribble, to me, that just changes everything, in my opinion. Especially the shots he's willing to take off the dribble from beyond the arc. Because if you go back and look at Zion and JJ Redick's two-man game, or you even look at Trey Murphy and Zion's two-man game, or even Zion and Jordan Hawkins' two-man game, when you got guys that can come off of go screens and just jump up and elevate and shoot, it just changes everything for the Pelicans. The Pelicans, a lot of times their offense has been slow and methodical, and it's not necessarily generating anything good. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily leading to great results. It's always Zion going 1-on-4, taking a difficult shot that he makes, but it's not a lot of creativity in the offense. I'm hoping that changes this year with the addition of such a dynamic guard, with the elevation of a Trey Murphy, with Zion Williamson hopefully starting the season in, quote unquote basketball shape, in rhythm, and kind of getting the ball rolling fast. Personally, I've never really seen Zion start the season super fast. maybe his rookie year. You can't, first time I saw Zion in preseason, his rookie year, I was like, yo, this dude's incredible. But ever since then, he kind of takes his time, kind of finding his footing and kind of, dissecting, the information, how the defenses are playing him that particular year. And then you just kind of see him take off like a rocket and dominate and be the player that we all know he can be when he's on the court. I might be by myself with this, but I'm all positive vibes for the Pelicans this year. I think the Pelicans are going to shock the world. I think the Pelicans are going to be, if healthy, I think the Pelicans could be a top 6 seed if healthy. Everything works. I think the Pelicans could be a top 6 seed today. The San Antonio Spurs, they just announced the extension of De'Aaron Fox. I think that's good news for the Pelicans because I think that it kind of accelerates the Spurs' timeline. Those type of contracts aren't necessarily tradable right now. So to me, Fox he gonna be there. He gonna be there with Wemby, and that means Dylan Harper not gonna get, you know, the runway that he probably should get. You got Steve Castle also. He might not get the runway that he's supposed to get. So, it might be a case of too many cooks in the kitchen. That's good. That's good for the Pelicans. You know what I'm saying? That's good for the Pelicans. You want a young team that has the potential to surpass you, to kind of expedite their timeline and hopefully make a mistake. You got to keep in mind also, Greg Popovich isn't there anymore, at least not on the sidelines. You know what I'm saying? He's still controlling things, but Greg Popovich isn't on the sidelines anymore. And I think people could be underestimating that. So tell me your thoughts. Let me know. You guys think I'm too high on Jordan Poole right now? Do you think maybe I'm a little too optimistic going into the season? Let me know your thoughts about Zion. Do you think he could still prove people wrong or prove some people right as it pertains to his talent and who he's supposed to be, this generational star that's just, a monster when he's healthy? Again, you look at these numbers, the dude's one of the most doubled players in the NBA. And he's still dominant. Like, it just doesn't matter. You can't do nothing with him. And just thinking about the opportunities and the looks he's going to create for other players, i.e. Trey Murphy, i.e. Jordan Poole, i.e. Sadiq Bey. I'm not sure what other shooters we have available right now, but hopefully Carlos corner three continues to, blossom. So even for someone like that, you just think about all the opportunities and the looks he's going to create for those guys. Hopefully they can take advantage. Even Jordan Poole, the looks he's going to create for those same players, hopefully they can take advantage. So please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, and we'll be back soon. I'm out. Peace.